Hello, YouTube! I am Pinstar, and this is Wingspan. So, what is this game? What are we diving in here today? Well, Wingspan is actually a board game, a physical, real-life board game that I had the pleasure of playing in real life with some of my coworkers last week. And the game struck me as so awesome that I just felt the need to bring it to you guys. And so I did some searching on the internet, and lo and behold, there's an electronic version of it that exactly, perfectly mirrors the real-life version of the game. This is actually gotten from Tabletopia. The program itself is free, but you have to buy the DLC, which is what I have done, thanks to a generous donation from one of my fans, Duncan. Thank you very much. Right then, so what's the point of this game? What are we doing here? Well, the idea is that each player is an ecologist, and we've been granted our own little wildlife preserve, a bird sanctuary, if you were. So our goal is to, attract and breed as many different types of birds as we can in order to make the most prestigious bird sanctuary among the ecologists. This is it is a competitive game, but it isn't the kind of competitive game where you're trying to actually actively harm your opponent. We're all in this together. We're all trying to save the birds. So, it's competitive in the way that you're competing over common resources. So what I'm going to do here today and over the next couple of videos is I'm going to explain how this game works, what sort of the ebb and the flow of the game is, and what have you. So when you start the game out, each player has their own player mat right here. This represents your bird sanctuary. There may seem to be a lot of random symbols on here. I will explain. You also get to start the game with 5 food, one of each different token. A worm, a wheat, a fish, a rat, or a berry. You also get to draw 5 randomly chosen birds to start your hand with. There are 180 cards in this game. Every one of them a bird, and every one of them different. And all of them like hand painted. I mean, these things are darn pretty and factual. These are real life birds. I'll go over exactly what all the info on the cards mean in a moment. But the first strategic decision you need to make is you need to decide between these 10 resources, your 5 cards and these 5 food, you can only keep a total of 5 of them. So for every bird card you want to hold on to, you have to ditch one of your food tokens and vice versa. Again, just basics, like, I could go into the deeper strategy of this later on, but I'm keeping it newbie friendly here. You generally want to hold on to maybe 2 or 3 bird cards and the appropriate food to be able to play them. In order to play a bird, you have to pay their food. So you can see here, this northern harrier wants 1 rat, whereas this guy right here, the American woodcock, needs 2 worms and a wheat. Hungry fella. So you generally want to hold on to the birds and then have the means to feed them. So that's what I'm going to do. I think I'm going to hold on to the northern harrier here. Let's get rid of the American woodcock. He doesn't do anything and he's expensive, so we're going to discard him. Horned lark, not bad, but I'm going to get rid of him. Again, I'll talk strategy in future videos. Here, I'm just demonstrating the core mechanics. And let's get rid of the Clark's Greb here. Now, the other choice you get to make here, let's finish off our decision. So we're keeping 2 bird cards, the violet-green swallow and the northern harrier. So that means we have to ditch 2 food tokens and get to keep 3. Well, we want to hold on to the rat, because he eats the rat. This guy eats 2 worms, and we only have the 1, so we want to hold on to that worm. Let's get rid of the wheat, because there's tons of wheat up for offer in the bird feeder. That's more on that in a moment. So we'll get rid of that, and we'll get rid of the Get rid of that. Get rid of the berry. So now we're holding on to a rat, a worm, and a fish. So what do you do on a given turn? Well, you can take one of 4 different actions. The first action is to play a bird. You basically need to place the bird in one of the habitats here, and then pay its associated food costs. So let's say, for example, we can't afford the violet green swallow yet because that takes 2 worms. We only have 1, but we can afford the northern harrier. Now we can see up here that it can be placed in either the wetlands habitat or the grasslands habitat. And again, costs us 1 rat. I'm going to go ahead and put it in the wetlands here. So I'm going to pay 1 rat, and I'm going to put my harrier here. Now the way the game tracks your actions is these are the number of different actions you get in a single rat. In a single, the game is broken up into turns, and then turns are broken into rounds. The rounds are sort of like there are 4 rounds in the game, but you can only do 1 thing per turn. So we've taken our action here. We're going to put a cube up here. That's just representing the fact that, okay, we use this turn to play a bird. Boom. Here's our bird. More on exactly what exactly the bird does when we get there. So now let's just assume we've passed our turn. Blah, blah, blah. We have another player. Again, this is just a non-player here. I'm just going to pass it back to us. They do their thing. I just want to focus back on what we're doing here. Now we do want to play our next bird, but again, we don't have the food for it. So let's go get some food. Why don't we? So the way you can get food is with the next action. So if you can't play a bird, the next action is placing an action up here in the forest, which is giving you a food tile here. Now, essentially, whenever you're taking any of the other actions, you place your action token on the leftmost free tile here and then take that action. So our leftmost free tile is, well, all the way over here on the left. So that 1 dice symbol means we take 1 food from the bird feeder. This is the bird feeder. Now, as you can see, it's randomly determined what type of food's available at any given time. Luckily, it does have the food that we want. I'm going to take this dice, a wheat or worm. So I'm going to take that, and that just represents the fact that I can grab a worm out of the supply and put it in my supply here. Boom. Now I've got 2 worms and a fish. And that's my turn. Not very powerful turns here in the early game, but the whole point of this game is to fix that over time. So now we have to pass our turn back to the other player. Other player does their things, and now we're back here. So now we've got our 2 worms. We've got our violet green swallow who eats 2 worms, so we can play them, right? Well, let's just say, you know what? I want to play him down here to the wetlands. I want another wetlands bird. And I'll go over why in a moment. But I can't. I cannot. Because in order to play a second or more bird in a single habitat, you actually have to pay an egg. That's where the lay eggs action comes into play. Now I could just play the bird to any of these others because this particular bird can go in any of the tiles. But again, example's sake, I want to play him to the wetlands. So we're going to get some eggs first. So we're going to take one of our actions and we're going to go and take the lay eggs action. Again, move it all the way down to the left. And we've got ourselves, we lay 2 eggs. Now, eggs, unlike cards, which you can just pull into your hand, and unlike food tokens, which you can just pull into your supply, your eggs have to go somewhere. They actually have to be placed on a particular bird, and birds only have a certain amount of capacity for eggs. Luckily, our northern harrier here, you can see 2 eggs. Our northern harrier can carry 2 eggs. So we can grab 2 eggs from the supply and put them on the northern harrier. The egg colors are just for show. There's no in-game difference between the different colors. I'm just grabbing whatever's closest. So boom, I've got my eggs. Now, eggs at the end of the game are worth points, but they're also a resource that you can spend both on getting birds further out in your habitats, but also on other cards that you may see down the line. All right, so that's my turn here. Boom. End my turn. Other player does their thing. Now we can play our violet-green swallow down here in the wetlands. So we're going to place it here. We are going to spend our 2 worms because you still have to pay the food for it, leaving us with just 1 fish token. And we have to take 1 of these eggs off the harrier and just put it back in the supply to pay that cost. And boom, we've got a violet-green swallow. And we'll put our cube up here to represent that's what we did here. So end our turn. Other player does their things, and we go back here. Now, we've gotten food, we've laid eggs, and we want to play some more birds, but we don't have any more birds. So disregard these bonus tiles. I'll go over the bonus cards later on. I'm just going to put these away. You don't normally do this, but I'm trying to keep things simple here. So you'll notice that there's no draw step. Like, you don't automatically get to draw cards. If you want more cards, and we do want more cards at this joint because we have nothing else we can do, you have to take an action for it. Now, same rules apply. So we want to go down to the wetlands and we want to draw. So we'll take our cube and go down to the leftmost, and the leftmost action is actually right here in the middle because we've got birds sitting on these 2. So now, instead of, had we had no birds here, our action would have been draw 1 card. That's it. But because our birds are sitting here in the wetlands, our action is stronger. We actually get to draw 2 cards, and it gets even better. Now, drawing cards can be from 1 of 2 places. You can either pick from one of these face-up cards. So if you see something you like, you can just grab it, knowing exactly what you're getting. If you don't see what you like up here, you can draw blindly from the deck. Painted bunting, nah. House finch. I like me a house finch. That's a lot of egg slots there. So I'm going to grab me a house finch, and I don't like these other 2, so I'm just going to draw 1 blindly. Boom. Okay, now, the nice thing here is now we get to move our cube down 1 and activate the abilities on these birds. So these little brown things, when activated, these little things, every time you take an action where this bird is living, then you get to activate their things. And these activated abilities do all sorts of fun stuff. This is where you can really open up your engine. So when activated, tuck a card from your hand behind this bird. If you do, draw a card. Now, what that basically means is if you tuck a card, that's worth an extra victory point at the end of the game. You can't use that card anymore. It doesn't do anything. It just sits behind this bird of yours, but it sits there earning you a victory point. And if you do that, you get to replace it with another card. Now, let's say, for example, I didn't really like this barred owl. Not a fan. Not too. Actually, I actually am kind of enthusiastic about this one. So let's say, okay, this house finch is going to be a little bit tough to play because it costs 2 food, and I don't have very much food available to me. Oh yeah. This gets replaced when somebody takes a face-up card. Oh yeah, you don't replace it until the end of your turn anyway, though. Anyway, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put this house finch underneath. And we're going to stock that card away. So now he's worth an extra point at the end of the game. But now that I've given up a card, I get to draw a whole new one. So it's not like I'm out a card. It's not like I'm down a card. I just scored a free victory point, and I got to basically re-roll what card I got. So that's the Sandhill Crane. Discard a wheat to tuck 2 from the deck to behind this bird. Pretty powerful later game, but again, I'll get into strategy later. Now this moves down to here. Whoop! And this one says, look at the top card from the deck. If the wingspan is under 75 centimeters, tuck it under this card. So again, here's that tucked card mechanic. This is a chance for me to get a freebie thing, but only if the bird's small enough. So we're gonna grab a card. We don't get to keep this, but drum roll. Game. And it's a mallard. 89 centimeters. Too big. The Harrier cannot get its beak around the Mallard. So, womp womp. No card for us. That's okay. It was still a free chance, and it didn't cost us anything. And so that was our action. And now that we have a couple of cards in our hand, now we have some new goals to play towards. So now that's how your thing goes. And as you don't have to just do them down here in the wetlands. As you can see, building up birds in the egg-laying habitat gets you more and more efficient eggs or more and more efficient food generation. There are a ton of different strategies you can pursue here. So that is sort of like the basics of how you play. All you have to worry about on your turn is which one of 4 actions are you taking. But the game goes a lot deeper, which I will cover in a future video. So if you guys like this episode and you want to see more like it, go ahead and hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and leave me a comment, good, bad, or indifferent. Your feedback's always welcome. So until next time, it's been Pinstar signing out. See ya!